Hi, I'm Aiman. And if you have a old stove like we do, and you need to replace it with a new stove, which in our case, my older sister Kaka is buying us one, you'll notice that your old stove may be hardwired, like this, but a new stove requires that you have an outlet. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the hardwire with an outlet, or install an outlet. Of course, in order to install the outlet, you're going to have to move the stove away from its position, which as you can see, we've already done. And it's a bit dirty here, but that doesn't matter because we're going to replace this tiling down here later. But for now, the first thing you should obviously do is switch off the breaker. And I'll show you how to do that just right now. Here we are at the breaker. Usually for a breaker, you have different indications on which switch turns off what. And on ours, you can see right here, the range has two switches, so we're just going to switch that off. As you can see, it's already off, so we should be good. We're just going to check if it's off by using a special tool. Now that we have the breaker flipped, we're going to take off this back panel using a screwdriver and check for current to make sure that's off. So first, let me just take this off. As you can see, they might not be as tight as they should be, and that's because we actually unscrewed them a bit just to check that everything was going a-okay. But for the purpose of this video, we screwed it back on. And in order to take some of these bolts off, because oh, what the okay, oh, I didn't think that was gonna happen. But this is about 20-year-old stove, so you might notice that some of the components are a bit rusty. Of course, you can always use PB Blaster or WD-40. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look right here. So this is where all the wires and circuitry connect. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our tool right here. And this is a voltage tester. So what this does is that when you touch it to any electrical wiring, it should beep if there is current running through it. As you can see here, is not beeping. And maybe we should have an example. Maybe here? No. Oh, yeah. You can see that it's beeping right here where there's current. And since there's no beeping here, that means it should be safe right now to work on it. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the wiring out of the stove, and we're going to move the stove away. And then we're going to take our outlet. This is a 50 amp, 250 volt, about $8 from Home Depot. And then we're going to try to install it. But first, before we do that, let me take note of these wires. It might be different for some of you guys, but we have 3 wires right here. The one on the left and the one on the right are live wires, and the one in the middle is neutral. Now, like I said before, this won't be the same for everyone, so it's always a good idea to check your electrical codes, consult an electrician, or even look at the manual. So make sure that you have the right wiring. From here on, it should be self-explanatory, but just let me go over it just to make sure that you got it covered. You can see on the right here that we've already done it, but basically what we have to do is unscrew these bolts here, or screws, and then what we're going to do is usually take pliers, and we're going to try to wrestle them from their housing. It's going to be hard for me because I'm not at a good angle. And if it doesn't wrestle as easily, then you might have to unscrew the bolt. Oh. Oh, there we go. And then what we're going to do after you've loosened all 3 is you're going to loosen this bottom screw. As you can see, we've already done it. And basically, just pull the cable out. And while I'm here, let me just talk about something important, is that I mentioned earlier there's a difference between 3 and 4 wires. The assembly that we have here, 3 wires, is used for this specific outlet. And this outlet here has 3 prong holes. And this has 3 prong holes as opposed to 4 because it lacks a ground. In much newer models, they'll have 4-prong holes because they need a ground. And that's what you'll see in newer models. They'll have 4 wires instead of 3. In older houses like ours, they'll have a wiring system like this where there's 3 wires, 2 live wires, each one supplying 120 volts, so 240 volts in total, and 1 neutral wire. When doing this kind of work, it's always a good idea to mark which ones are the live wires. As you can see, we already marked it with electric tape. And when you have 3 wires like this, make sure that when you buy the outlet, you buy one that has 3 prongs. Now, in newer houses, they'll have a different wiring system. They'll have 4 wires. This 4th wire will be a ground. So these newer houses, they will require a different outlet which will have 4 prongs. So make sure you get the right prong for your house. Keep in mind that this video is meant for installing an outlet that's a surface mount, which means that it's usually on the floor or hanging near the stove, as opposed to being in the wall, which requires a different set of operations. And I'm sure there are other videos online for that. For now, we're going to move the stove, probably going to do some things with the floor, and then we're going to show you how to mount it.